rated your performance today?
I was okay. Just miscommunication with the receivers at one point. I think we threw a few times where we didn't expect it. We ran a lot, but we just got to make sure we're on the same page on certain routes and things like that. But I missed a few guys here and there that could have converted third downs when we needed.
Tommy, the TV camera showed you after the delay of game on the punt to open, and you seemed pretty emotional. What was it like on the sideline at that time?
Honestly, it's just thinking about it. It's just it didn't really hit me until I actually looked out there and saw all the support and all the the fans, how much impact it was on the fans and things like that. So it was an incredible feeling just knowing how much he meant to not only the team but the community and all the fans that were out there. So it was emotional for myself, and just because as every game he always talked to me and just said keep me off the field. Only time I want to be out there is when I'm holding field goals and things like that. So it was emotional for me just sitting looking out there and not seeing him. So it touched my heart a little bit just looking out there.
I mean, Mike Riley said he had kind of mixed emotions on the game. He was obviously really happy with the win and that you guys pulled away, but thought you could do some things better. What was kind of the vibe of the team? How do you view it?
We started off slow. We couldn't establish a run game in the beginning. That we didn't really know what to expect out of those guys. We kind of figured that would happen. They started blitzing us a lot more than we thought they would. But we adapted to it late. Came in at halftime, made some halftime adjustments, went out there, and we started off right on kickoff. We didn't get that fumble, but they got us a stop, and we went down and punched it in the end zone. But when we were running that well, we opened up a lot for the receivers. And those guys are playing those safeties there just to throw the ball. Then when we get a chance to throw it, we just got to make sure we complete them. And, it was a few times where, I could have led guys a little bit more. Like I said, a bunch of miscommunication with myself, with some of the guys. And, the offensive line gave me great time to, complete passes. But, in some certain aspects of the game, I got to just make sure I be smarter. But overall, I think we ran the ball great in that second half. But first half, we just got to make sure we are locked in, communicating well. We didn't line up like we wanted to. We struggled with knowing who was on the ball, who was off the ball. But, we just got to make sure we fix that. We've been stressing on it. Coach Langs and Coach Cav and, all those coaches have been stressing on knowing how to line up. That's the first thing we got to do when we get out there is know who's on the ball, who's not. But we struggled with that in the first half a little bit. It was kind of stressful at one point. But I think we stuck together and we believed in each other, and then we fixed it the second half.
The tenor is a little bit different. If you guys have won by 33 last year, I don't know that there would be a sense of disappointment or frustration. Do you feel like the tenor's changing and the expectations from year two of this regime are a little higher than they were last year?
Yeah, we can't go out there and say, oh, well, this is new to me. I'm not really sure how to do it. We got a year under our belt. This is our second year in the offense. It should be clockwork for us. Knowing how to line up, calling the plays the right way. It's a couple times where I struggled, about just seeing which signal, which direction we need to run the ball. But at the same time, you just got to be able to respond the right way, be able to fix it. And, like I said, I don't think they should have stopped us a single drive just because, if you look at the stats, we had, one or two third downs. And, that's great for our offense. You don't want to be stuck in third down. And, seeing an offense that only had 2 third downs, that just shows that, we're on a first down, second down, then we get a first down, then we're moving the chains. We stopped ourselves in certain situations, maybe holding call, maybe, legal guy on the line, not covering guys up. We just got to fix it. It's first game, bunch of young guys in there, but at the same time, we've been working our tails off this whole offseason to fix those mistakes. We got to take it serious and just come out tomorrow whenever we get up here and look at the film and make sure that we are locked in and listening to coaches and things like that, and just make sure we don't make those same mistakes next week.
How'd you keep yourself off the turf on that second touchdown?
Honestly, I don't know. And I just felt myself on top of somebody, and they kind of rolled me. So I just, like they said, when that thing happens, you just, you roll with it. And I just felt myself stay up, and then all of a sudden I felt 300 pounds on my back, and it was Tanner Farmer. And he's like, man, I tried to stay off you, bro. I'm sorry, but, I just tried to get in the end zone. They always say fight for extra yards. Definitely close to the end zone like that, and my guys made blocks for me. But, I just wanted to keep fighting, and luckily I stayed off the ground, and luckily Tanner gave me a little bit more room to get in the end zone.
Anything else for Tommy?
Tommy played a real clean game on offense, no turnovers, good rushing game, especially in the second half. The emotional part of it. As a senior, is there something you can do or say to the players to try to tell them to keep their emotions? You want to play emotionally, but you don't want to go overboard with it and have problems like the personal foul calls.
Yeah, I think that, from the get-go, when things don't go the right way, definitely if, refs sometimes don't see things, and, it may be on the opposite side of the ball where, it's one of your guys getting hit late or, getting tossed around too much. You just got to make sure you don't try to retaliate, and, that's one of the things we got to fix. We got to make sure that those guys are being smart because, they always see the second guy in certain situations. Got to stick together. And as a senior, we just got to make sure that when we see those things happening, we make sure we run up and pull those guys away before it gets to a point to where they're throwing flags. And we got caught a couple times doing that, and it cost us definitely, late in the game where, we could have had a second and short, and we found ourselves second and long off of a costly mistake. And as a senior, like I said before, we just got to make sure that we notice it a lot quicker. And as a guy on offense, you just got to make sure you try to relay it to those guys that when they get in that situation to where they're pushing guys and guys are pushing them, just walk away, be the bigger man, just look at the score. When you're up big, people tend to get aggravated. Things not going the right way for them, and they tend to just do things that's inappropriate, and you just got to make sure that you keep playing for the guy you're left and right. And when that happens, at the end of the day, you get a win regardless of what they're doing, regardless of what we're doing. Just got to make sure we're playing our game.
All right. Thank you, Tommy.